Hi everyone, welcome to today's live IELTS class. My name is Adrian and I'm broadcasting to you from cloudy Budapest, Central Europe. I hope everybody is doing great. All right, welcome Shiji, welcome Ramesh, welcome Ahmed. Today we're doing an IELTS Task 2 essay example. This is something that could be for academic or general IELTS. Our strategies and materials come from our websites. Definitely check those out, aehelp.com for academic IELTS. And if you're studying for general IELTS, visit us at gieltshelp.com. That's generalieltshelp.com. And continuing until Monday, we have a very special promotion going. It's for Black Friday. Black Friday is the International Sales Day, so we're following suit. 40% discount right now for our premium IELTS course on aehelp.com and gieltshelp.com. Just enter the coupon code Black Friday, BLKFDAY, on the websites, and you will get a 40% discount. The websites look like this. This one's the academic IELTS. You enter the coupon code here at the bottom by clicking the blue button. If you're studying for general IELTS, go to this website with the green background and use the coupon code there. All right. So if you have questions about IELTS, our products, Adrian@aehelp.com. That's my email. Just send me a letter and I will reply with an answer, usually within 24 hours. All right, tomorrow we have a members chat only class. We've had a couple requests, so I'll schedule that class and have it up on our community chat later. And then Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, there is no class. I am celebrating the American Thanksgiving with some of my friends here in Hungary who are from the US, although I'm Canadian. But you should know that it's a big weekend in the United States for Thanksgiving. All right. Here we go. Task 2. Okay, you are in the writing section of IELTS. Hi, everyone who's joining in right now. I do see a lot of those hellos. Hi to all of you. IELTS writing. You have two tasks, Task 1 and Task 2. That makes up your total band score. Task 2 is worth more. It's 40 minutes. It's 2/3 of the time. And it's 250 words, so it's longer than Task 1 significantly. So no surprise, Task 2 makes up about 2/3 of your total score for the writing section. Make sure you do it second, so don't do Task 2 before Task 1. It's not a good idea. Task 1 is a nice warm-up to get your penmanship going, to get your brain going coming out of the reading section. So do Tasks 2 second. And make sure to leave 40 minutes, okay? They will not tell you in the IELTS when your 20 minutes is up for Task 1. You need to check the time and then go into Task 2. Spend that full 40 minutes to do the best you can. And then don't worry about the rest. If you finish the speaking section, it means you're done the exam. Remember, the sun will shine tomorrow. Just relax. All right. So 40 minutes. Of the 40 minutes, you should spend about 2-3 minutes to plan your writing, even 5 minutes to plan your writing, okay? A little bit of planning goes a long way. That's actually an expression or a saying, and it's very, very true for writing, okay? So a bit of planning goes a long way. All right. So remember that. Okay, you got to plan. All right. Let's look at the question for today. Here we go. You should spend 40 minutes on this task. It's also in the stream description. Some people think that it is better to educate girls and boys in different schools. Others, however, think that boys and girls benefit more from attending mixed schools. Discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Give reasons for your answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. Okay, so what do you need to realize when you read this question? So you read this question, students, what's the first couple of points that you need to think about or need to realize and respect? Hi, Shanu, good to see a member in class. I'm doing well, thank you. I hope you're doing well also. So what should you do? What are a couple of points that you should think about right away? So as you're planning, point 1 is, what are you writing here? Farheen, the thesis will come a little bit later. Shanu says, well, the first step we should do is paraphrase the question. That's definitely a good idea, just to make sure that you understand it. Absolutely. So let's do that right now. Let's paraphrase this question. Paraphrase it. I'll do the same, and then we'll compare. Okay. Again, for students who are new to these classes, paraphrasing means to say the same information or write the same information using different words, using your own words, okay? So please paraphrase this. I'll do the same. So certain individuals, okay? Instead of some, certain. Instead of people, individuals, okay? Instead of think, the word believe. This way you will make sure that you understand the question and you will collect very useful grammar and vocabulary for your writing. Okay, so certain individuals believe it is ideal instead of better. All right, let's see what you've done. Surya Baraki says, a few believers cite that it is essential to send children for education in separate institutes, while some of them are in favor of co-education. Co-education is okay, it's co-ed education, but that's long for co-ed, so co-education, it's good. Okay, Surya, that's good. That's a good start, okay? Jubilant says, certain individuals believe that it is advantageous to send their children to gender-specific schools for education, whereas others think that it is more beneficial to educate them in co-ed schools. Very good, Jubilant, so very similar to mine. Jot Kaur, new member, I saw that. Good for you. Send me an email, Jot, so I can hook you up with our practice exams, some other goodies, okay? So remember to send me an email after class, all right? You will need to write background information, Jot Kaur. We're not there yet. Ladies and gents, we're just understanding the question and planning. You have to do that first, okay? Naveen says, it is considered by some individuals that co-education doesn't result in good outcomes, while others believe that mixed schools offer great benefits. Naveen, that's good. Just avoid those contractions even when you're practicing. So don't use doesn't, use does not, okay? Shanu, certain people feel that it is good to educate girls and boys in separate schools, while others support that boys and girls have more advantage in attending co-ed schools. Very good. Those are some great paraphrasings, okay? Baljit, that's good too. And those other paraphrases were quite nice as well. I was able to skim over a few of them. Okay, good. So we've paraphrased this. Now, point number 1, so what do we need to recognize? That's not, you know, I'm very happy that a lot of students now understand the importance of paraphrasing task 2 questions right away. Spending half a minute on that can save you a lot of headache and a lot of band scores, okay? So that paraphrasing should never be skipped. All right, so what do I do now? So what should I realize now? Baljit says, well, let's start doing some critical thinking. Let's start applying what, why, how. But even before that, okay, so even before we get into the what, why, how, Baljit, what kind of essay is this? So what type of essay are we asked for here? Let's take another look, okay? So it says, discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Give reasons for your answer, include any relevant examples from your own knowledge. So what type of essay, what voice of author is required by this question? It's definitely a first-person essay, that's right. And Baljit, you're right, it's a personal opinion, so it's a first-person essay. And it's a persuasive essay, right? It's an argumentative type persuasive essay. So it's a first-person voice. Okay, if this is new for some of you, first-person voice, it's very, very important, not just for IELTS, but your own general knowledge in the world when you're reading and you're writing. It's very important for you to have a basic understanding of first-person, second-person, third-person voice of author. This is not just in English. This is true in all languages, in all writing. And you should have a basic idea of the four types of essays in the world: persuasive essay, expository essay, narrative writing, and descriptive writing. So you should know those four categories of writing and those three voices because they are the foundation for all advanced literature in the world, okay? And that is very important to understand for professionals throughout their lives. It makes your life easier when you read and when you write, okay? So first-person voice, you have to use I, me, my. It asks directly for your opinion and for examples from your life. Now, another point that's an interesting point here, ladies and gents, that I want you to pay attention to, and I've noticed this in my many years of IELTS and English teaching, don't get too involved in IELTS questions, okay? So there's kind of a tricky reason I chose this question for today's class. I know that many IELTS students around the world attend same-gender schools, especially in the Middle East. And I know that many students, of course, around the world attend co-ed schools, where they attend schools with the opposite sex. So, some questions in IELTS students find very boring, or they even say, I don't know anything about that, I hate that question. And then sometimes students will get a question that they feel very passionate about, so they feel very strongly about. Both of these can be dangerous for students' band scores, okay, for your actual writing band score. When you say, I don't know anything about this, I'm not interested, often band scores go down. That's what I see in my teaching and my marking. And the opposite is also true, that, or the other side is also true, that when students are very passionate, their band scores also go down, okay? So they also get lower band scores because they get too opinionated, they forget about what the question is asking, and they go off topic. So in both situations, you have to be very careful to stay focused, stay professional, stay clear-minded, and answer the question. Your goal is not to change the world in IELTS. Your goal in IELTS is to get a high band score, okay? You can change the world after, when you get into university or your job, all right? So stay focused, stay clear-minded, and just give a good answer, okay? All right, so do not be overly passionate about a question like this, okay? Stay focused and give clear, accurate answers or explanations and examples. A little bit better. All right. So yes, now, Baljit, we can get to what you said a little bit earlier. So you said, okay, let's talk about what, why, how, right? So let's just get right into it. Let's get our controlling idea underway, and let's talk about what, why, how. So here we need to talk about what, why, how for advantages and possibly disadvantages of same-sex schools or co-ed schools. So advantage and disadvantage of same-sex schools or same-gender schools, to give you a new word there. Okay. What, why, how? Now, be clear. Separate the advantage and the disadvantage. Okay. And then the same thing for the co-ed schools. So, all right. Okay, so what is the same gender school? Well, that's easy. It's a men only or women only, boys only or all girls school. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Okay, why? Why do we have schools that are for boys only or for girls only? What's the reason behind this? Excuse me. So let's do a little bit of planning. I would definitely not recommend just starting to write without any thinking, even if you have some good ideas about this. So why do we have these? Why do we have some institutions or a lot of institutions that are only for just women and that are only for just men? So why do we have that? So Pranay says change in thinking. Difference in thinking. So differences in thinking. Okay, that's good. Sure. Yeah. Pachu says no distraction. Yeah. So less distractions. Okay. All right. Amarwadi says to avoid certain age-like teen problems. Sure. Okay. Less distractions is also focus on learning. Okay, that's the positive side. All right, good. So let's go to the how question then. How are there differences in thinking? And I would say maybe instead of thinking, let's say development. Okay, so how are there measurable differences in development or thinking between men and women? Okay. Said says there could be cultural reasons as well. Yeah, absolutely. I probably wouldn't go into cultural reasons, even though it might be a good argument, simply because cultural reasons is difficult to write about. And again, here, your focus should just be on writing a clear, quick, effective essay to get a high band score. Again, remember, don't get sentimental, so don't get too emotional. So I would leave religious and cultural reasons out of this essay. It's just 250 words. It's going to be easier to leave that out. It's difficult to write about cultural and religious differences. Okay, it's more difficult. Takes more vocabulary, takes a deeper understanding of language. Okay, so what are differences in thinking between men and women? So what are some basic differences that people argue about thinking that women have and that men have? And I have a feeling most of you know this. Ramu, we're going to get to that. Okay. So keep it simple, visualize. Okay, so there are a few. Let's see if, yeah, so Zenith Mazana, you're on the right track. So you're saying maturity is different. There's a difference in maturity. Yeah, girls tend to mature faster at an earlier age than men. Men catch up later in life, but that's after a lot of the school years are gone by, right? Preeti, very good. Girls are more emotional than boys. Boys are more physical than girls, right? So these are some basic differences. Now, we can argue this until the end of time, how true these are, but most people will agree that these tend to be common differences between average populations of boys and girls. Okay, so good. You don't need all of this information. Even just 2 of these is enough for this essay, okay? So what about the second point? So this is for point A, right? And this is now coming up for point B. So what do you mean less distractions and more focus on learning? There, we can just keep it really simple. Most of us will think about the same idea here. It's courtship, right? Courtship and interacting with the opposite gender. Okay? Dates, liking each other. Okay? So things like that, trying to impress each other. Okay, so I think that's what most people are thinking. Okay, good. I do want to get to the essay writing here, so I don't want you to feel like I'm going too quickly. But again, when you're planning your essay, ladies and gents, then the paraphrasing, which we did here, and thinking about these ideas that we're doing right now, that should be happening in no more than 5 minutes, okay? So maximum 5 minutes for your planning and paraphrasing, okay? If you're taking more time, you need to practice more before you sit the IELTS exam so you can do it faster, okay? Now, advantage, disadvantage of same or mixed gender co-ed schools. Okay. What? Well, we know what that is. Girls and boys in the same school. Okay. And why? So here's an interesting question. Why? Again, you have to discuss both sides. So why? Why would we put men and women into the same school? What's the logic there? What's the argument there? And clearly, the world is quite split on these ideas because there are a lot of same-gender schools and there are definitely a lot of co-ed schools. So why do we do that? So Macron believes it's a social experiment. I don't think so. So it's personality development. That was a good one. Okay, so to have a sense of equality, to develop an understanding of the opposite sex, yeah. Why else? Okay, to have them socialize with each other, to form social connections. And I'm still missing a very logical reason. I haven't seen students say, okay, somebody says for better education. Remember, it's tricky here with quantitative information. So Preeti says girls will be more confident in the future if they study with boys. Possible. Create more competition. Yeah, it's competitive nature. Sure. All right, all of those. And, of course, because the natural habit or human life is by coexistence of men and women. So don't forget that regardless of whether or not a person goes to an all boys or an all girls school, eventually in society, men and women are generally speaking mixed. Now, I know there are parts of the world where religion does keep a certain divide, but in most parts of the world, for most people, men and women mix. And even in parts of the world where religion might divide men and women, there's still marriage, there's still cohabitation of men and women. Sisters and brothers live together. So arguably the most natural life context of humans is a cohabitation of men and women, as opposed to some other animals like bears, where they completely live separate from each other unless they are reproducing. At all other times of the year, the male bear and the female bear live separate. Humans, not so much, okay? So, how? So, by spending time together and learning similarities and differences between genders in classes like math and gym, right? Okay. That is how we do it. Now, ladies and gents, make sure you are communicating in English in the chat. Otherwise, I will have to remove these. It takes me time to do that. And then, of course, the other point is that eventually I will have to boot people who are not using English in the chat. So please use English in the chat, because people from all over the world are in the chat and they might not understand the language that you're using, and that's not considerate or sensitive. So thank you for that. Okay, we have all of our what, why, hows now that we need to write this essay. Of course, there's one more step that you have to think of before you begin. What is that? So what is the one final step here before you start to write? And this is all happening in within that 5 minutes. Baljit says the thesis. That's right. Again, I say this all the time. Good thesis will make your essay. A bad thesis will break your essay. So you need a thesis. Good for you, members. Good for you, Amar. So great. So what is our thesis here? Please write your thesis statement. I will do the same. Remember, your thesis should always show the voice of the essay, should always show the argument of your essay clearly, okay? Oh, just a moment. Get you back on camera here. All right. So, there are benefits and deficits to both same-gender and co-ed schools. Nonetheless, I'm in favor of educating girls and boys in mixed classes because of the need for understanding the opposite sex. Okay? So that is my thesis. Let's see what you've written for your thesis. Okay? So put up your thesis statement. Stay focused here. All right, Pranay says there are both advantages and disadvantages for studying in one gender school or coeducation. However, I am in favor of coeducation. I go with coeducation as an awkward sentence, Pranay, and it's grammatically incorrect. Okay? All right. Macron says, I completely believe that the co-eds can promote students both physically and socially. Macron, that might be good for part of your essay, but don't forget the original question. The original question says, discuss both these views and give your own opinion. Okay, so you need to discuss both views. And in this case, discuss one in one paragraph, body paragraph, and the other in the next. Okay. Naveen says, although same-gender schools enhance more focus towards learning, I believe that co-ed schools foster equality and coexistence among genders. Very nice direct thesis, Naveen. I actually like yours more than mine, so good job. All right, very good. Marasa Baraki says, although certain individuals believe it is essential to send kids in education in separate institutes to help them focus on their studies, I believe that co-ed institutes are better because of teaching to understand the opposite gender. So, Marasa, I changed it a little bit. I gave some additional pieces in there to reflect that it's a first-person essay and both direct points in the thesis. Okay, good. So let's write our introduction now. Okay, and your introduction should begin with a hook. So what is a good hook for this essay? What is a good hook for this essay? Okay. Think about the hook now. I see some good thesis statements coming up, which is fine, but we're on to the hook. Baljit says coexistence for men and women. I think it's too simple, Baljit. I'm not sure where you're going with that. Maybe rephrase that one. Okay. The hook means, Kailash is asking, what does a hook mean? The hook is an interesting, simple statement, introduces the topic, and gets you focused on what you're writing. Duxil, finish your sentence. So you're saying there's a split opinion regarding the gender of schools, something like that. Okay, I still don't see very good hooks. Okay, Jubilant James says, it is inevitable for men and women to live apart. Yeah, that's good. Education plays indispensable roles in everyone's life. Here's a way to do it. Having an ideal environment in schools is critical for good education. How about that one? Okay, because here we're talking about the content of education, right? So having same gender or co-ed schools, we're talking about the environment of the school. So having an ideal environment in school is critical for good education. Now we give the background. The background is, again, a definition of terms and importance. Okay? So, in order to provide the best learning experience, some schools offer co-ed classes, while others have girls or boys only teaching. Trying not to repeat words here. You should do the same at home. You should always try to avoid word repetition. So, all right. The definition here is pretty simple. It comes from the question, and same with the importance of the question. So having an ideal environment in schools is critical for good education. In order to provide the best learning experience, some schools offer co-ed classes while others have girls or boys only school contexts. Okay. Let me make that a little bit more English. Only schools. Okay. All right. So that is the background. Now, the thesis. For the thesis, we can just simply grab the thesis that you have in the official IELTS. You can actually write your thesis about 5 lines down and then write the hook and the background before it. And then you'll have your full introduction. All right, so here we go. Having an ideal environment in schools is critical for good education. In order to provide the best learning experience, some schools offer co-ed classes while others have girls or boys only schools. There are benefits and deficits to both same gender and co-ed schools. Nonetheless, I'm in favor of educating girls and boys in mixed classes because of the need for understanding the opposite sex, okay? And I have the word schools repeating quite a bit, so at home, especially when I'm studying and learning for IELTS, I might change this to institutes. And if I don't know another word for schools, then I'll use a thesaurus. All right. So now we can write body paragraph 1. And body paragraph 1 will begin with a topic sentence. Okay, topic sentence is basically a more detailed explanation of your first point. Here, the first point is the benefits of same-gender schools. Now, this is where your planning comes in very handy. It's very, very useful because you already talked about this, okay? All right, let's see what you have so far in your chat. So Lata Kara says, by having a view of pros and cons of unisex institutions, I'm tremendously in favor of sending a child to learn in co-ed schools. Little bit confusing, Lata. I'm not too clear on where you're going with that. You might want to separate that into more sentences and give a more clear explanation. Okay. Jot Kaur, welcome. I know you're a new member. Make sure you send me an email after class so I can hook you up with our practice exams. I didn't see your hook, Jot Kaur, so I'll try to catch that, okay? I'll jump back to it and see if I don't see any hook from you, Jot Kaur, so maybe you're asking me if you should just skip the hook altogether. And I know some teachers say, oh, you don't need a hook in IELTS. Yeah, you don't need anything in IELTS. You could just write 2 sentences, but then your score will go down. If you want to get a good score, if you want to do good writing, you should use a hook, okay? It's not that you need a hook, it's that you should have a hook, okay? A lot of students think that the introduction is just simply paraphrasing the question. Absolutely not. You're not going to get a very high band if all you're doing for your introductory paragraph is just paraphrasing the question and then writing something like, this essay will discuss both views and give my opinion. Well, yeah, I know that. That's what the question's asking, so obviously you're going to do that. If you just paraphrase the question and then write a sentence as, this essay will discuss both views and I will give my opinion, all you've done is just restated the question. How can I give you a good band score for good English when you really haven't done any communication? All you've done is just repetition, okay? The introduction is more than just repetition. It's communication. I hope that's very clear, okay? All right. So, yes, Amanjali, you can watch this after. So we're going to get into body paragraph 1. Start with the topic sentence. Catch up to me, ladies and gents. Start working on your topic sentences. Of course, here, you always talk about your first thesis point first. So your first thesis point is your first body paragraph. Here it's the benefits and deficits of same genders. So that's body paragraph 1. Okay, and then body paragraph 2 will be co-ed schools and my support of these. So that's body paragraph 2. Okay, so body paragraph 1 is the weaker position. We talk about that. And body paragraph 2 is the position that I'm in support of because I want to leave my reader with that idea. All right, so that's what I'm focusing on. So body paragraph 1, same gender. Let's talk about it. Okay, here we go. We can go back and look at our planning. Remember to use your notes. Sometimes students just write notes and then never use them when they're writing. That's not a good idea. If you write down notes, which you should, then you should also use them. Okay, so what are the advantages? Well, there's differences in their thinking, in their development. There's less distractions. And then here we have how boys are more physical, girls are more emotional. So those are our points. Now we just need to make those into some sentences. Okay, so here we go. This is my topic sentence. Write your own. Okay. All right, so same-gender schools recognize the difference in development between genders and foster these by focused learning and curriculum. Women tend to mature faster than men. So girls-only schools can implement more serious lesson topics like history and culture at a younger age. In contrast, boys are more oriented towards physical activity. So all boys schools can focus more on such classes as gym. Okay. So there I have my topic, and I went ahead and wrote my explanation as well. Okay, so again, using my notes. All right, let's see what you have so far. I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, and I'm pushing you to think quick and write quick, but that's what you have to train yourself to do, okay? You have to be able to think quick and write quick, just so you have a good frame of reference. A native speaker with grade 12 education, so an 18-year-old man or a woman, or let's say 17-year-old man or a woman who graduated from high school in the US or Canada, they would be able to write a 300, 350-word essay like this, no problem, in 30 to 40 minutes for an IELTS Task 2 question, okay? All right, so Duxil, no, absolutely not. So Duxil is saying, sir, I think we should give our opinion in the conclusion, not in the introduction. No, absolutely not. You should give a hint of your opinion right away at the very beginning. It's very awkward. I'll give you the logical explanation for this, Duxil. If you think logically, it's very awkward to read a writing, so read an essay, where I'm listening to different points of views, and then only in the last 1 or 2 sentences the author throws at me their opinion. It's usually very surprising when I read an article like that, and it's not very convincing because the reader thinks, whoa, really? You just told me objectively pros and cons of both of these ideas, and now in the very last sentence, you throw this very subjective opinion at me and you expect me to believe you. It's much better to introduce the subjective idea in the beginning of the essay, give some support in the middle of the essay, and then strengthen the subjective opinion in the conclusion. It's a much, much more effective type of persuasive or argumentative writing, okay, than throwing in your opinion just in the conclusion. I hope that makes sense. That was a good question, by the way. Okay. Pachu says boys can study subjects like physics and math, and girls can focus more on subjects like business. Okay. Sure, or languages as well, right? Good, Pachu. Yeah, that would work as well. Again, you don't have to have the perfect opinion or the perfect answer. It just has to be clear and accurate. Okay. All right, what comes after this? So what should come after my topic sentence and my explanation? Yeah, Jot, absolutely. It's if you have enough time to give a couple of ideas, sure. If you only have time to give one good idea, then stick to it, right? Jubilant says, give the example. Naveen says, yeah, the how. So how can we see this in the real world? Yeah, absolutely. I haven't actually given an example. So this is only an explanation, okay? Topics like history and culture at a younger age, that's just an explanation. That's not actually an example. Remember what the question is asking you in task 2, okay? So don't just believe me. Don't believe your other IELTS teacher. Believe what you see, okay? The question says in IELTS, give reasons for your own answer and include any relevant examples from your own knowledge or experience. When you think about examples, okay, from your own knowledge, that means something that happened to you or something that you've seen or something that you've heard happen, okay? Not just something that you learned, all right? So here, we need something specific, something that really backs up the explanation, okay? So here we go. Here's a good example. For instance, my cousin went to an all-girls school where she focused on Latin and became so proficient that now she teaches doctors in university. Okay, so I just made that up on the fly. You can do the same, all right? For instance, my cousin went to an all-girls school where she focused on Latin and became so proficient that she now teaches doctors in university, all right? Amar Wadi says, for instance, I grew up in a same-gender school. I grew up attending. You didn't grow up in because you grew up in a family, Amar. So, for instance, I grew up attending a same-gender school. A military school, and I learned discipline very well, which now allows me to lead a very successful life and run my own business. Okay, Amar, that's good. Just make it more clear. Okay. All right, and you don't have to put more than that one example. All right. So now you can write a connecting sentence. And in this case, you can keep it very simple, all right? You can write it like this. Nevertheless, I still believe that there are greater advantages to co-ed institutions, learning institutions, okay? So you're switching now to the second point, the second idea. And all you have to do here is just keep it simple and say something like, or write something like, nevertheless, I still believe that there are greater advantages to co-ed learning institutions. So notice here again that I have an opinion coming in. So I'm slowly feeding my opinion to my reader. All right, I'm going to read a couple more examples before we jump at body paragraph 2. Naveen says, in my hometown, more schools are same gender, and the aim is academic results by focusing on better understanding among peers. And Naveen, to drive home that point, you could say, this is proven in our state exams where students in same gender schools consistently achieve 90 to 100% scores, or over 90% scores. Okay, so if you give a little bit more quantitative information, Naveen, it will make it even better. And one way to do that is with state or government exams, and saying that the same gender schools are performing better in these state and government exams. Okay. All right. Let's read. King Never Dies. In 2005, a research in Oxford University showed that females are more aware in learning liberal arts. That's okay, King, but it's a very removed example. Again, from your own knowledge or from your own experience, it's more effective for this essay to write "in my experience," or "I read an article which showed that," or which explained that. Okay? Rajiv, not necessarily. That can be the last sentence of the first paragraph switching over to the second paragraph. The second paragraph will then actually state the benefit overtly. So this is covertly saying that there are more advantages. It's not making clear what those advantages are. And then body paragraph 2 will explain what those advantages actually are. So that's why I did it like this, Rajiv. I hope that makes sense. Okay. All right. Veggie Monkey says, for example, my little brother practices tennis with his teammates after school, even because he does not have a girlfriend to hang out with. Veggie Monkey, I think the example is irrelevant. It's not clearly related. You should relate it. You should say something like, for example, my little brother practices tennis in an all-boys tennis program after school, and his game has gotten very good because of the high level of competition among the boys. So that would make more sense, Veggie Monkey. Something like that, okay? All right. So body paragraph 2, same thing. Starts with a topic sentence, okay? And again, the topic sentence should be a deeper, more clear definition, all right? So the most beneficial aspect of attending mixed gender schools is socializing with the opposite sex and gaining a better understanding and communication for later life. Okay, so I would start off my body paragraph 2 like this in this case, all right? So let's move on to body paragraph 2. So this is my topic sentence, and now I need an explanation. Since men and women are innately very different, it takes many years of working together and getting to know each other to have an understanding, a deeper understanding of the mental and emotional differences. Okay? It is in school where most children have the opportunity to acquire these perspectives for later married life. Okay? So just putting along there, giving my explanation to the topic sentence, and making clear the argument of why co-ed schools are good. And now I can include an example. And here I want to focus on my example a little bit more. To give a powerful example. And this is something that I've mentioned before, but I haven't emphasized. A good Task 2 IELTS essay that gets that high band score, it's very nice if you can relate the examples between paragraphs, or if you have more than among paragraphs, okay? So in my first body paragraph, this is the example I wrote. For instance, my cousin went to an all-girls school where she focused on Latin and became so proficient that now she teaches doctors in university. So here, I want to be clever, and I want to use this example to strengthen my second body paragraph point. How can I do that? So this is more of a challenge, and this will be a challenge for some of the members and regular students as well. So if I want to create a very strong, let's say band 9 essay here, then I can use the example from my first body paragraph, and I can adapt it to my second body paragraph to support this explanation. What can I do? So this is the challenge, students. What can I do here with my cousin who attended an all-girls school? I just made that up. I don't have a cousin who attended an all-girls school, as far as I know. But what can I do here with that example? So let's see if you can read my mind, or if you're able to pick up what I'm putting down here. Yeah, there you go. So if the students are looking at the chat right now, Naveen has a very nice approach. So my cousin, who learned Latin at the same gender school, is not very good at socializing, and she still does not have a boyfriend, or she still hasn't had a serious relationship. So Naveen, good start. Just say socializing with the opposite sex, okay? Very good. Absolutely. You read my mind, Naveen. Good for you. And notice that this will also force that higher level language. So my cousin, who is very good at Latin, okay? So notice that adjective clause giving more detail and definition. So my cousin, who is very good at Latin, is not very good at forming relationships with men. In fact, she is over 30 and still has never had a boyfriend. On the other hand, her sister, who went to a co-ed school, is happily married with 3 children. Okay? Now, does it have to be real? Does it have to be true? Not necessarily, but a very strong connection between your body paragraphs, giving very strong support to your argument, and making it a very nice high level, high band essay. Okay, I hope that makes sense. All right, so again, if you want those high IELTS band scores for your writing, practice making strong connections between your paragraphs with information, not with words. A lot of students think, oh, I have to join my ideas together by using words like however, firstly, secondly, thirdly. And yes, those words are okay. It's okay to use however and furthermore and therefore. But the strongest way to create a good, coherent, connected, cohesive essay with good information flow is with information, with knowledge, okay? All right, so apply the same example, okay? All right, Jot, yeah, you could simplify it. Exactly, it doesn't have to be as complex as what I just did, Jot Kaur. You could simplify it. You could say this can be exemplified by my cousin who hesitates to communicate with the opposite sex because she went to an all-girls school. So you can say it that way as well, okay? All right. Good job, students. So I hope that that is clear now, okay? All right. Now we have one paragraph left. It is the conclusion. And for the conclusion, a conclusion is usually 2 to 3 sentences. You simply restate the points of the essay. You restate your argument and then give a take-home message. So, okay. So in conclusion, there is an ongoing debate on whether same gender or co-ed schools are ideal for learning. In my opinion, it is optimal to have boys and girls in mixed classroom environments. All right, and then comes the take-home message. And the take-home message, again, it's like the hook, okay? So sometimes you might hear some of your teachers say, well, you don't need that in the IELTS task 2. You don't need a take-home message. Again, yeah, you don't have to. If you're going for band 7, you don't necessarily need a take-home message, but you better write a very good essay otherwise. But if you're going for a band 8 or a band 9, those higher band scores, then definitely write a take-home message for your task 2, because that's what gives value to your reader. And the take-home message should be some idea that we can clearly understand from the essay, and that your reader will say, hey, thank you for that. I'll think about that, and I'll consider that in my future when I make my decisions, okay? So what could be a good take-home message right now? Pachu, absolutely proofread your essay at home, okay? Okay, so Duck Seal, notice that there's 2 parts here. At first, just restate the points. In conclusion, there is an ongoing debate of whether same-gender or co-ed schools are ideal for learning. In my opinion, it is optimal to have boys and girls in mixed classroom environments. Why, right? Why? So what's your message here? So Naveen says, whether mixed schools or same-gender schools, it should ultimately focus on educating future society's leaders, not dictators. Dictators is awkward in that context, Naveen. So leaders, right? I don't know about that, Okay. This would be my take-home message. Okay, so school should be more than just a place to learn sciences and math. They should also set forth, or say they should also set the foundation for functional societies, okay? Or if you don't want to go that hardcore, you could say happy relationships. All right? Okay, so schools should be more than just a place to learn sciences and theory. They should also set the foundation for happy relationships. That would be my take-home message right there, okay? Preeti says, so co-ed education is quintessential to overcome, for cognitive development and for social comfort or social development in the future. Yeah, Preeti, you're on the right track. I might phrase that a little bit differently, but you're definitely on the right track, okay? All right, so there we have it. That is our full essay. Should get us a nice high band score. Now we'd want to proofread it for spelling, information, repetitive words. And in the IELTS, if you're really good and you practice at home, you should have about 3 minutes for your proofreading, okay? Definitely at home, when you're getting ready for IELTS, when you're preparing for IELTS, you must proofread your task 2 at least a couple times, okay? So once right after you finish, then set it aside for a couple days or save it if you're using your computer. Remind yourself to come back 2-3 days later and check it again. So let's read this right now. Having an ideal environment in schools is critical for good education. In order to provide the best learning experience, some schools offer co-ed classes, while others have girls and boys only institutes. There are benefits and deficits to both same-gender and co-ed schools. Nonetheless, I'm in favor of educating girls and boys in mixed classes because of the need for understanding the opposite sex. Same-gender schools recognize the differences in development between genders and foster these by focused learning and curriculum. Women tend to mature faster than men, so girls-only schools can implement more serious lesson topics like history and culture at a younger age. In contrast, boys are more oriented towards physical activity, so all boys' schools can focus more on such classes as gym. For instance, my cousin went to an all-girls school where she focused on Latin and became so proficient that now she teaches doctors in university. Now, this is where I would say, oh, wait a second, I use the word focused a lot, where she targeted, okay, or where she specialized, just to avoid word repetition, all right? Nevertheless, I still believe that there are greater advantages to co-ed learning institutions. The most beneficial aspect of attending mixed-gender schools is socializing with the opposite sex and gaining a better understanding and communication for later life. Since men and women are innately very different, it takes many years of working together and getting to know each other to have a deeper understanding of the mental and emotional differences. It is in school where most children have the opportunity to acquire these perspectives for later married life. My cousin, who is very good at Latin, is not very good at forming relationships with men. In fact, she is over 30 and still has never had a boyfriend. On the other hand, her sister, who went to a co-ed school, is happily married with 3 children. In conclusion, there's an ongoing debate whether same-gender or co-ed schools are ideal for learning. In my opinion, it is optimal to have boys and girls in mixed classroom environments. Schools should be more than just a place to learn sciences and theory. They should also set the foundation for happy relationships. Okay, so that's a complete task 2 essay response to this question. Right like that, it will get you a very high IELTS band score as long as you're not making too many grammatical and spelling mistakes. And the word count on that minus the instructional words is about 340. Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, that 250 is the minimum word count. So you should be aiming closer for 300 words, okay? This is a little bit over that, but there is some redundancy that we could take out. You should be aiming for around 300, okay? Remember, Veggie Monkey, 250 is the minimum. If you write less than 250, you start losing marks. Again, a native speaker, somebody with a high school education, would be able to write about 300, 350 words in the 40 minutes. No problem, okay? All right, you're very welcome, Shanu. Yes, that was my goal, to get a full essay out to you today to give you a complete understanding. Thank you so much, students, for bearing with this intense, long class today, a little bit longer than usual. And again, do remember to get all of our videos, 6 original practice exams, and a fully interactive course with lots of strategies for your phone, tablet, and computer. You have a very special discount this weekend. It's 40% discount off our regular price, BLKF Day. So that's for Black Friday, aehelp.com if you're studying academic IELTS, and GIELTShelp.com if you're studying general IELTS. I hope that made sense. If the lesson was a little bit quick, don't worry. The video will be up on the channel in about an hour, and you will be able to look at it again, review it at a later time, go through it step by step at your own pace. Make sure you understand and practice these skills at home, because practice makes perfect. I can make it look easy for you on the screen, but it's you that has to make it easy for yourself through practice. So keep up the good work. I wish you all a great rest of your day. If you're getting ready for bed, then brush your teeth, hit the hay, wake up fresh tomorrow, ready for the next day. Bye for now, ladies and gentlemen. Much love to all of you.